What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Jack, and I'm back with another episode of A Daily Dose Daily. Today, we're going to be talking about dating standards. And as always, I'm going to go through this video and share with you my perspective. This video today is brought to you by Diary of a CEO, right? And then they have Psych Hacks on as a guest, and they're going to be talking about the reason why men don't want to date anymore. Um, If you want to watch the original video, I'll make sure I link it down in the description box below. Without further ado, let's get into it.
I really want to just close off on the point about the world that men find themselves in before we move to the world that women find themselves in, and then try and tackle some of those problems. So they're lost in terms of understanding what masculinity is. We know that they're finding it harder to find dates. They're finding it harder to have sort of sexual relationships. Is there anything else that I need to understand about the man in the current social climate?
Well, I think the problem for the vast majority of men, especially young men, is their invisibility. Most men are wallpaper, and the world does not treat men very well when they want nothing from them. I talk about that in the very first pages of the book, that to understand why some people are rich in relationship opportunities, whether they're romantic, professional, friendship, etc., and other people are not, it's not correct to say that it's the good people who have relationship opportunities or the virtuous people. It's the people that other people want things from that have relationship opportunities.
I.e., women want men with means, right? This is resources, right? So, because just like, okay, so if we put men and women on a same playing field, in order to get to the level where you have enough money to do the things that you want to do, right? And need to do, because that comes first. First, there's the needs, then there are the wants, right? That takes time. That takes a lot of time, especially when you're coming from an impoverished environment, right? You have to build yourself up, both men and women. And because women's currency is beauty, age, and fertility, it's easier for them to go get with older men and experience life on someone else's dime. However, on the man side, the man doesn't get that. And like the video I talked about yesterday about hypergamy, if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. We went through the woman who's dating hypergamously, and then the woman who dated hypergamously and lost, got to her 30s, 35, and now she's bitter and mad that the guy who had to build himself up to get to the point where he can spend money on not only the things that he needs, but the things that he wants, right? And on top of that, he has to have enough money to make sure he can sponsor someone else, right? So everybody, men want to be that guy, and women want to be with that guy.
If you have more of what other people want more, you are going to have relationship opportunities throughout your lifespan. And that's very difficult because imagine being an 18-year-old man who have no money and you've never had money. You may not have a job. You may never have had a job. So you have no skills. You're kind of invisible to women because you don't have yet anything that women might find conducive for a long-term relationship.
Right. And I just want to make this quick stop and then I'll let him continue. Unless you are genetically gifted, and most people aren't genetically gifted. So you're not going to have people taking an interest in you otherwise.
If you're cute, they might hook up with you. But if you're not even that, I mean, why waste their opportunity? Why waste their time when there are other more attractive options available?
Right. And again, we take the clear pill approach here. We're not saying that it's right. We're not saying that it's wrong. It just is. If you put yourself in the shoes of a young, attractive woman, I'm pretty sure you would come to the same conclusions that she came to. Hey, listen, yeah, you might be. young guy, you might become something, but I gotta go with what's in front of me. They don't have a lot of time to make these decisions, right? And they'll get on the internet and say, they got all this time. They know. They know instinctively, they know internally that they don't have a lot of time to make that decision. So it's easier for them to go ahead and go with the older option or the option of now with the money.
And you're also kind of useless to most men because you don't yet have the skills and the experience to be a good team player. Like, I wouldn't want you on my squad if you've never been out in the field. You're going to be a liability. You know what
True.
I'm saying? I
Mhm.
don't have to carry your ass off the field. So you can't be here either. And that creates obviously the catch 22, which is what we're
And then another thing real quick with the older man bringing along the younger guy. Yeah, he is a liability. And the thing is you would make his path, I mean, exponentially easier. You would make it so much easier for him to just walk across the finish line. And one thing that men need is the wisdom and it only comes with time. You can tell somebody a million different things, but if they don't have the experience, aka wisdom, to understand what's going on, at some point they're gonna lose everything or get themselves into trouble.
where am I going to get the experience if no one gives me a shot? It's actually very difficult to be a young man. You don't have what either women or more experienced men want or need, and you're generally very disposable. And unfortunately, we've seen that. I mean, young men have a very high mortality rate in all kinds of ways. They were shipped off to wars. You talked about the suicide epidemic among older men. Well, it's also very high among adolescent boys as well. It's hard to be a young man.
I remember one of my guests telling me that about a study where
It's just difficult to be a man in general. Whether you're like he just said, they talked about, unalivings among older men. This typically comes from them getting wiped out from a divorce graping, uh, and or just never making it, right? And with young men, like you said, they don't have much to offer outside of their body.
they analyzed the suicide letters of men,
Hmm.
and they looked at the words used versus the words used in female suicide letters, and the most sort of frequent sentiment amongst those letters was about feeling worthless, feeling like you weren't needed. And the guest on the podcast concluded that really what we needed to find a way is to send a message to men that you are needed. And it's a strange thing to say, but it correlates perfectly to what you were saying.
The message sounds good, but it would be better to actually have opportunities to be needed
Yeah.
than to be told that you are needed
Exactly. Actions speak louder than words ever can.
and that you are valued and that you are cared for. That's a nice emotional sentiment that doesn't really keep the demons away at night.
Mm.
People need to feel connected to other people. They need to feel like they have a place in the world. And it can take quite some time to discover that. One of the traps that I fell into when I was a young man is I thought that I could figure that out by just sort of like noodling it out alone in my room. Like I was trying to figure out what I wanted my life to be about, what the purpose of my life was going to be before I even left the house. And I wasted a lot of time in fruitless rumination that way. It's much better to discover your purpose in life by moving through the world and examining your choices in retrospect. It's like you only really get to discover who you are by examining and understanding your revealed preferences based on your behavior as you move through the world. It's
I agree to a certain extent. And this is again where that wisdom comes in. And by doing, you can only gain wisdom. By experiencing, you can only gain that wisdom. However, you do need like foundational ground rules. That way you won't go do something crazy. Like um y- a great example would be that anybody could relate to would be, hey, I don't need to do fentanyl or I don't need to do any hard uh uh narcotics to understand that that's probably not a good thing. I can look on the internet and see the effects of what it causes within people, what it does to them, and that's good enough for me, right? So if you understand that as a young man, you have that foundation of, hey, I see that this is doing something extremely negative and it could truly destroy my life. And this applies to women as well. Let me not do that. I don't need to experience that in order to see that that's not the way to go, right? Now, the equivalent for women would be like corn, getting in the corn industry, doing the OnlyFans and things of that nature. That would be the equivalent to the man, I guess was we would say doing narcotics or participating in that industry.
It's very easy to think of yourself in all kinds of ways when you're untested, when you're untried, when you're in the morally ambiguous situations in which human beings find themselves as they navigate reality.
Are you saying that the evidence you're looking for or the answers you're looking for come from?
Taking action. Absolutely. They don't come from thinking it out. They often don't come from therapy. And that might sound weird coming from a therapist, but I do think that we live in a very overly therapized culture with the understanding that therapy is somewhat of a panacea in that it should be able to cure all that ails you. And I don't think that that's true. Therapy is very good for certain problems and it's useless for others.
Agreed. Some things, yeah, you can only talk about something for so long, excuse me. Again, going back to wisdom. You can only gain that wisdom, right? That understanding through experience.
What about women? What are the challenges that a woman faces in the modern world because of all these sort of macro changes that have taken place?
Well, the main problem that I see women encountering, at least in my consultative practice, is they have trouble finding the men that they want to have long term relationships with. Almost every consultation I've done with a woman has been around how do I get a man to marry me? And that's also kind of strange because I would think 80, 100 years ago, that was something that that girl was being prepared for since she was a very young person by her mother and her grandmother and her aunts and her female relatives with whom she probably lived in close consultation. And she never would have gotten to the age of 30 where this would be an open question still.
Well, see, the thing is they're not getting the same marching orders, right? They're getting told to get their degree, get your career going, and then go ahead and try to have a family. But that's not working. And unfortunately, we cannot rewind time. We cannot rewind time. And there's millions of women who are facing this reality, and we get to see it in real time online, and it is a sad thing. And at the same time, a lot of them, they're doing it to themselves. It's self-inflicted because they want a unicorn. They all think they're tens, right? And they just want some a unicorn. I'll just say a unicorn because I don't want to say the other words.
And who are you? What's your sort of, if I looked at your CV, you talked about your consultative practice. What is the experiences you've had and the education you've had that have brought you to this point where you've written this book about relationships and those dynamics? What is your sort of professional, personal experience?
Well, professionally, I'm a psychologist. I'm licensed in the state of California. So I went to grad school and got a doctorate in psychology. I had all kinds of training experiences while I was moving through that. I worked at a chemical dependency clinic for 2 years. I worked with cancer patients and their caregivers in a health psychology setting for a couple years. I worked with significant dysfunction in a community mental health center in San Francisco for a while. I worked in outpatient with severe personality disorders. So that was all part of my training. And then when I started my private practice, I began to focus on men's mental health. And for a long time when I was a therapist, I worked exclusively with men. That's changed a little bit now that I have a kind of a larger platform on which to reach people. But that's sort of been my professional experience.
So in your private practice, When people come to you, what are men most frequently coming to you with in terms of the problem they come with versus what women come to you with a problem with?
Well, in general, it's either money or women for men.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And one hand washes the other, right? And the bottom line, and I think I'll end it here, guys. I'll close with this. Again, if you want to see this video, I'll make sure I have it linked in the description below so you can go check it out. Um, I don't know if you ever heard money doesn't buy you happiness. And I think that that's propaganda because if you look at everything in the world, it requires money, right? It doesn't matter whether you're doing it alone, whether you're doing it with a woman, whether you're doing it with your friends, it is going to require money, right? So the best thing to do is to make money. However, you have to find balance and you don't have to um worship money, nor do you have to use it to control people in a negative way. I often say that good behavior has to be incentivized, right? Bad behavior is incentivized, right? You get a lot of money. Well, look at the internet. People get views, they get attention from, bad behavior. One person that I can think about recently is Chud the Builder, right? He was doing all that so he can get attention, so he can get the views, so he can get the what? Money, right? And then the money brings everything else, right? Higher quality things. So that's why I adopt the clear pill approach. And again, for me, that means I don't I don't look at things as right or wrong. I look at it as what it is. Okay. And I'm gonna do the things that are going to put me in the best position possible for me to have the best outcomes. That's it. Right. I value my health, my finances, right? And I value wisdom, right? And experiences with like-minded individuals in the pursuit of greatness. Now that doesn't mean that I feel like I'm better than anybody or um I'm not gonna poo-poo or belittle anyone. I think humility is important no matter how high or low you are in life, right? No matter how much money you have, you should never treat someone bad just because they might not have as much money as you or they might not have accomplished as much as you because that same person that you disrespect today could be somebody that you need 5, 10, 15 years later, right? So again, I'll wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and got something out of it. If you like the video, like the video. If you share it if you can. If not, I understand. Until the next one, guys. Peace.